Stop begging for love, because the moment you do, you start losing yourself. True love doesn't chase, it finds the woman who refuses to settle for anything less than she deserves. Imagine loving someone with all your heart, pouring your soul into them, only to feel invisible. You've tried everything, texting more, giving more, showing up even when it hurts, but still nothing changes. And in that silence, that absence of reciprocity, you start questioning your worth. You start thinking maybe love has a price, and maybe that price is you shrinking. But here's the truth: a high-value woman never begs for love. She doesn't chase validation from those who cannot see her brilliance. She doesn't bargain for attention or plead for affection, because she knows that love, real love, doesn't require begging. It doesn't demand that you compromise your dignity, your peace, or your soul. She understands her worth. She knows that being loved is not a reward for her persistence, but a natural reflection of the respect and energy she gives. She doesn't define herself by who stays or leaves. She defines herself by the love she holds for herself. And that love, fierce and unshakable, is magnetic. People are drawn to it because it radiates authenticity, not because it's forced or manufactured. Boundaries are her allies. She doesn't tolerate disrespect, dishonesty, or half-hearted affection. She says no when she must, and she walks away without guilt, because she knows that every moment she spends begging for love is a moment she steals from herself. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "I will not shrink for you. I will not dim my light to make you comfortable." And in that whisper, there is immense power. She invests in herself, her dreams, her passions, her emotional growth. She fills her life with experiences, friendships, and accomplishments that honor her soul. She doesn't wait for someone else to complete her. She is already whole. And this wholeness is magnetic. When you are thriving in your own life, love doesn't need to be chased. It comes naturally, effortlessly, as a reflection of the energy you put into yourself. Letting go is another form of strength. Loving someone who cannot or will not love you back at the same level is not bravery. It's self-sabotage. A high-value woman learns to detach with grace. She understands that walking away doesn't mean she doesn't care. It means she cares enough to honor herself. She trusts that life will bring her love that matches her energy, love that is reciprocal, love that uplifts rather than diminishes her. Her authenticity is her magnetism. She doesn't need to perform, manipulate, or chase. She is herself, fully, unapologetically, bravely, and that alone draws the right people into her orbit. She loves fiercely, but she also protects fiercely. Her heart is open, but her dignity is never for sale. And in that space of self-respect, the kind of love she deserves finds her naturally. So if you find yourself begging for love, pause, take a deep breath. Remember that your value is not measured by who stays or leaves. Stop shrinking, stop compromising, stop chasing. You do not need to earn love, you need to honor yourself. Choose yourself. Protect your heart. Trust that the right love will meet you where your worth already exists. The moment you stop begging, you stop shrinking. The moment you honor your own value, you begin to shine in ways the world cannot ignore. You become unstoppable, radiant, and irresistible, not because you change for someone else, but because you refuse to settle for anything less than the love you already deserve. And here is the final truth: when a high-value woman walks away from what diminishes her, she doesn't lose. She gains freedom, she gains peace, she gains a life where love meets her with the same strength, courage, and beauty that she carries within herself. So stand tall, shine bright, love boldly, but never at the expense of yourself. You are worth the kind of love that sees you, respects you, and chooses you every single day, and that love is waiting. Knowing your worth is the foundation of every choice, every relationship, and every moment of peace you claim in your life. A high-value woman understands that her value is not negotiable, not conditional, and not determined by how others respond to her. She recognizes that trying to prove her worth to someone else is a trap, a slow erosion of her confidence and her soul. There is a quiet, undeniable power in knowing who you are and what you deserve. She doesn't wait for someone else to tell her she is enough, because she has already looked in the mirror, confronted her fears, faced her insecurities, and embraced herself fully. Her self-respect is not fragile, and it is not subject to approval from anyone outside of herself. When a woman knows her worth, she doesn't chase attention, approval, or affection. She doesn't invest endless energy in people who are unwilling or incapable of seeing her brilliance. Love is not something that can be begged for or earned through persistence. It is a reflection of mutual recognition, of respect and alignment. She understands that no amount of pleading, compromising, or changing herself will make someone truly value her. The energy she pours into those who cannot reciprocate diminishes her own light and distracts her from the people and opportunities that genuinely see and appreciate her. She protects her heart by knowing where her love is deserved and where it is wasted. This understanding of self-worth is not arrogance or superiority. It is deep-rooted awareness that her life, her time, and her love are precious. She has faced moments of doubt, times when she wondered if she was enough, moments when insecurity whispered that she needed someone else's validation to survive. But she has also learned that those moments are not weaknesses. They are invitations to return to herself. In those quiet, reflective spaces, she remembers that her presence, her mind, her heart, and her dreams are inherently valuable. She does not need to convince anyone of this truth because she has already embraced it. Her energy is not for sale, and her love is not a bargaining chip. Recognizing her worth also means refusing to settle for relationships that diminish her. She does not apologize for wanting respect, honesty, and kindness. She does not convince herself that she must accept less to keep someone in her life. She chooses her peace over temporary validation, her dignity over fleeting attention, and her integrity over emotional compromise. In doing so, she becomes a living example of what it means to love fully without losing herself. She does not shrink, she does not hide, and she does not alter her essence to gain affection. Instead, she radiates authenticity, and the people who truly deserve her love naturally gravitate toward her. Knowing her worth allows her to make choices with clarity. She is able to see through empty promises, excuses, and emotional manipulation. She trusts her instincts, her judgment, and her heart. She knows that if someone cannot meet her with the same energy, care, and respect she gives, then the loss is not hers, it is theirs. She has learned that love given freely and joyfully to someone who cannot appreciate it is wasted energy, a distraction from her own growth and fulfillment. Her time is finite. Her emotions are sacred, and she protects both fiercely. When a high-value woman honors herself, she creates a life that reflects her inner strength. She invests in her passions, her dreams, and her growth. She builds her own foundation of confidence and resilience, independent of anyone else's opinion. The love she attracts is not desperate or dependent. It is organic and reciprocal. People are drawn to her not because she chases them, but because she walks through the world with authenticity, grace, and unwavering self-respect. The way she carries herself, the energy she exudes, and the clarity of her boundaries all signal that she knows her worth, and she will not settle for less. Knowing your worth transforms not just relationships, but every aspect of life. It allows you to navigate challenges with courage, setbacks with patience, and successes with humility. It frees you from the need to perform, to please, or to seek approval because you have already chosen yourself. Every decision, every connection, and every boundary she sets flows from this deep recognition of her value. She has discovered that when she honors herself, she not only protects her heart, but also opens it to love, respect, and joy that are aligned with who she truly is. Setting boundaries is one of the most courageous acts a high-value woman can commit to in her life. It is not simply a rule she imposes on others. It is a declaration of self-respect, a bold statement that she will no longer tolerate anything that diminishes her sense of worth or peace. She understands that every relationship, every interaction, and every connection in her life must honor the sacred space of her heart. To draw a line, to say no, and to protect herself is not cruelty, nor is it selfishness, it is bravery. It is the act of acknowledging that her time, her energy, and her emotions are precious, and that she has a responsibility to safeguard them. A high-value woman knows that boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. Instead, they are bridges that define the terms of connection. When she sets limits, she communicates clearly and honestly what she will and will not accept. She does not apologize for expecting respect, loyalty, and honesty. She understands that half-hearted affection, those moments where someone offers love in pieces, inconsistently or conditionally, is corrosive over time. It erodes trust and fosters insecurity, both within her and within the relationship. By refusing to accept anything less than what she deserves, she protects herself from being devalued, from losing herself in someone else's indecision or lack of emotional integrity. Emotional manipulation, she knows, is particularly dangerous because it disguises itself as care, love, or concern. It comes wrapped in guilt, obligation, or silent judgment, quietly pressuring her to compromise her needs or question her own worth. A high-value woman sees these patterns clearly. She recognizes the subtle ways in which manipulation seeks to erode her boundaries and steal her peace. She does not play the victim, and she does not excuse behavior that is harmful to her well-being. Instead, she responds with clarity, assertiveness, and compassion for herself. She understands that saying no is not rejection. It is preservation. Walking away is not abandonment. It is an act of self-respect. Setting boundaries also requires immense self-awareness. She has spent time reflecting on her own values, her needs, and her emotional triggers. She understands where her limits lie and why they are necessary. These boundaries are not arbitrary. They are rooted in a profound understanding of her worth and her right to emotional safety. She does not allow others to dictate her comfort, diminish her feelings, or coerce her into compromising her standards. Every boundary she establishes is a testament to the love and respect she holds for herself. It is a way of saying, I will not shrink to accommodate your neglect. I will not compromise my heart to soothe your discomfort. I honor myself above all else. Courage is at the heart of boundary setting. It takes bravery to confront those who disregard her limits, to speak up when something feels wrong, and to stand firm even when faced with criticism, resistance, or anger. Many people mistake firmness for rigidity or strength for arrogance, but she understands the truth. It is far more courageous to assert her needs and walk away when necessary than to silently endure mistreatment. Every no, she says, is an act of liberation, a small but profound rebellion against the subtle pressures to conform, to tolerate, or to diminish herself for someone else's comfort. The process of maintaining boundaries is not always easy. She may face resistance from people who are used to taking advantage of her kindness, generosity, or patience. She may encounter guilt tripping, emotional appeals, or even anger. But she has learned to trust her instincts, to listen to the quiet voice inside that knows what is right for her. She has learned that guilt is not a compass for decision-making. Self-respect is. Every boundary she enforces strengthens her sense of self, cultivates inner peace, and signals to the world the kind of treatment she will and will not accept. Setting boundaries without guilt also teaches others how to treat her. It communicates that her love, attention, and energy are not commodities to be exploited. It creates an environment where relationships are built on mutual respect, honesty, and integrity. She does not apologize for demanding this. It is not arrogance to want to be treated well. And it is not unreasonable to expect others to honor her space in her heart. By modeling these standards, she also empowers those around her to examine their own behavior, to rise to her level of respect, or to step away gracefully if they cannot meet it. Ultimately, boundaries are a form of self-love. They are an acknowledgement that her emotions matter. Her comfort matters and her peace is sacred. Saying no does not make her unkind. Walking away does not make her cold. She has discovered that the most profound act of courage is to protect herself from anything or anyone that threatens her dignity or her emotional well-being. By refusing to tolerate disrespect, half-hearted affection, or manipulation, she cultivates relationships that are healthy, reciprocal, and enriching. She surrounds herself with people who lift her, honor her, and match the energy she invests. Through this process, she grows stronger, more confident, and more resilient. Each boundary she sets is a declaration that she will not settle for less than she deserves. She learns to trust herself, to value her own judgment, and to honor her instincts. In protecting herself, she finds freedom, the freedom to love fully, the freedom to engage authentically, and the freedom to walk through life knowing that her heart is her own, and it will be treated with the reverence it deserves. Investing in yourself is one of the most powerful choices a high-value woman can make. She understands that her happiness, her growth, and her fulfillment cannot and should not depend on anyone else. She refuses to give away her power to someone who cannot match her energy or appreciate her light. Instead, she pours time, love, and attention into herself, cultivating a life that is vibrant, meaningful, and unshakable. She knows that the most magnetic energy comes not from chasing others, but from fully embracing her own passions, dreams, and purpose. A high-value woman recognizes that personal growth is not optional. It is essential. She spends her days learning, evolving, and refining the person she wants to become. This growth is not a performance for anyone else. It is an intimate act of self-respect. She seeks knowledge, experiences, and challenges that stretch her mind and heart. She pursues her passions relentlessly, whether that is building her career, developing a skill, exploring creativity, or nurturing meaningful connections that honor her. Each step she takes toward her own development strengthens her sense of self and fortifies her confidence. She also understands the importance of emotional self-care. Investing in herself means tending to her inner world with tenderness and attention. She confronts her fears, acknowledges her vulnerabilities, and practices self-compassion. She knows that unresolved wounds, unprocessed emotions, and neglected mental health can create patterns that draw her into unhealthy relationships or situations. By prioritizing emotional and psychological well-being, she ensures that her energy remains vibrant, balanced, and magnetic. Her joy is not contingent upon someone else showing up. It is rooted in her own resilience and inner peace. A high-value woman invests in her body as well. She respects her physical health, knowing that her energy, vitality, and presence are directly tied to how she nurtures herself. She does not punish herself to fit someone else's standards, nor does she neglect her well-being for temporary comfort or approval. Every choice she makes, from what she eats to how she moves, reflects care and reverence for the vessel that carries her through life. In doing so, she radiates confidence and strength that others cannot help but notice. Financial independence is another form of self-investment she values deeply. She builds her own resources, manages her own future, and refuses to rely on someone else for stability or validation. This independence does not make her cold or unloving. It makes her empowered. It allows her to make choices freely, to walk away from toxic situations without fear, and to pursue opportunities that align with her purpose rather than out of necessity or compromise. Her autonomy signals to the world that she is whole, capable, and complete on her own. Time is one of her most valuable resources, and she invests it wisely. She surrounds herself with people who inspire, uplift, and challenge her in positive ways. She chooses relationships, communities, and environments that encourage growth and celebrate authenticity. She does not linger where she is undervalued or dismissed. She does not spend her energy on those who drain rather than energize her. By curating her life with intentionality, she ensures that her experiences nurture her soul rather than diminish it. Investing in herself also means embracing her creativity and curiosity. She allows herself to explore new ideas, take risks, and express herself fully without fear of judgment. Whether through art, writing, travel, or personal projects, she nurtures the aspects of herself that bring joy, excitement, and meaning. This commitment to self-expression strengthens her identity and makes her presence compelling. She becomes someone whose energy is not dependent on external approval, whose light shines independently, and whose confidence attracts admiration naturally. One of the most profound truths she embodies is that investing in herself first does not mean neglecting others. It means being able to give love, support, and attention from a place of fullness rather than emptiness. When she prioritizes her own growth, happiness, and fulfillment, she is not selfish. She is abundant. She becomes a source of inspiration and energy for those around her. Because she is not trying to fill a void, she is overflowing with her own vitality. Her energy is magnetic because it is authentic, nurtured, and self-sustained. People are drawn to her not because she demands attention or validation, but because she is radiant in her independence and joy. Finally, investing in herself first is an act of courage. It requires saying no to distractions, toxic attachments, and short-term gratifications in favor of long-term growth and purpose. It requires patience, discipline, and faith in her own journey. She knows that life is a series of choices, and she chooses to invest in herself consistently day after day. She recognizes that the woman she becomes through this investment is the woman who will attract the right relationships, opportunities, and experiences, ones that honor her worth, her passions, and her energy. By nurturing herself, prioritizing growth, and committing to her own purpose, she becomes unstoppable. She does not need to chase love, approval, or validation because her life is already full, meaningful, and magnetic. Investing in herself first allows her to shine with an authenticity that draws the right people and experiences effortlessly toward her. It is the ultimate declaration that she is complete, powerful, and worthy of everything she desires without ever needing to compromise who she is. Detaching from unreciprocated love is one of the most courageous acts a high-value woman can undertake. Loving someone who does not meet her with the same level of care, energy, and devotion is a form of self-sabotage that slowly chips away at her confidence, her peace, and her emotional stability. Yet, for many, the impulse to hold on is almost instinctual. The heart clings, hoping, pleading silently that the other person will suddenly notice, that they will suddenly return the love she gives so freely. She has poured herself into the relationship, given more than she has received, and carried the weight of longing in silence. The truth, however, is that clinging to someone who cannot match her love does not nourish her heart, it diminishes it. Detachment, while painful, is not indifference. It is a radical act of self-care, an emotional declaration that she will no longer compromise her peace for the sake of another's inability to love her fully. A high-value woman understands that love is a two-way street. She has learned that energy flows best when it is reciprocated, when it is met with respect, commitment, and appreciation. When it is not, it becomes a drain, an invisible weight that pulls her down and keeps her from thriving in the life she deserves. Clinging to someone who cannot meet her on the same level is not a testament to her loyalty. It is a surrender of her own power. It is the illusion of hope that creates suffering, a dangerous loop where she believes that persistence will eventually change the other person or prove her worth. The reality is far simpler. No amount of chasing or giving can make someone love her who is unwilling or incapable. Accepting this truth is the first step toward emotional liberation. Detachment requires deep honesty with oneself. It begins with recognizing the imbalance, the subtle but undeniable signs that the other person is not aligned with her energy. She observes the inconsistencies, the delayed messages, the lack of initiative, the emotional distance, and allows herself to feel the discomfort without denial. It is natural to grieve this realization. Letting go is never painless. It carries the weight of lost dreams, unfulfilled hopes, and imagined futures that will never be. She mourns what she wanted to exist, not just what is real. But through this mourning comes clarity, and through clarity comes empowerment. Detaching does not mean cutting off compassion or denying the love she feels. On the contrary, she allows herself to honor her emotions fully. She feels the longing, the sadness, and even the frustration, but she does not act on them in ways that compromise her dignity. She does not beg, plead, or manipulate to reclaim what is not freely given. She recognizes that her value is not contingent on someone else's ability to love her back. This distinction is crucial. Detachment is an act of respect for herself, not a punishment for the other person. She releases with grace, understanding that her responsibility is to her own heart, not to the unfulfilled expectations of someone who cannot meet her fully. Emotional bravery is central to this process. To detach, she must confront fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of rejection, the fear that she will never find someone who reciprocates her love with the same intensity. She allows herself to feel these fears without letting them dictate her actions. She understands that solitude is not the same as loneliness. Solitude is a space of self-discovery, growth, and restoration. It is an opportunity to reconnect with her passions, her dreams, and her inner strength. She uses this time to nurture herself, to rediscover what brings her joy, and to reaffirm that her happiness is independent of anyone else's affection. Detachment also involves reclaiming her energy. Every thought, every moment, and every emotion previously consumed by unreciprocated love is redirected towards self-care, self-growth, and meaningful connections. She invests her time in relationships that are balanced, supportive, and nourishing. She surrounds herself with people who value her, uplift her, and meet her energy with the same commitment she offers. In doing so, she creates a life that is vibrant, fulfilling, and aligned with her worth. This act of reclaiming energy is not passive. It is active, intentional, and transformative. Setting boundaries is a natural extension of detachment. She makes it clear what she will and will not accept. She distances herself from interactions, communications, and situations that perpetuate imbalance or emotional drain. Saying no, stepping back, or even walking away entirely is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is the embodiment of the principle that self-respect always comes before approval, and that her peace cannot be compromised for the sake of holding on to someone who cannot meet her where she stands. She also learns to let go of the stories that keep her trapped in unreciprocated love. She releases the narratives of blame, self-doubt, or imagined obligations. She stops rationalizing behavior that is inconsistent with genuine care, and she stops convincing herself that persistence will eventually lead to the love she desires. Instead, she embraces the truth love that is not mutual, is not a reflection of her inadequacy, it is simply a reflection of misalignment. Her focus shifts from changing someone else to honoring her own heart and cultivating a life that reflects her worth. Detachment is transformative. It strengthens her emotional resilience, sharpens her intuition, and deepens her self-awareness. She discovers that the love she has been seeking externally can, in fact, be nurtured internally. She becomes attuned to her own needs, desires, and boundaries, and she realizes that fulfilling relationships are born from alignment, not compromise. In detaching, she gains freedom, the freedom to love without losing herself, the freedom to engage without fear, and the freedom to thrive in her authenticity. Ultimately, detachment from unreciprocated love is an act of liberation. It allows her to walk through life with clarity, dignity, and self-respect. She stops shrinking, stops pleading, and stops chasing. She invests her energy where it is valued, and she allows herself to be vulnerable only with those who are capable of matching her depth and commitment. In doing so, she becomes unstoppable, radiant, and magnetic, not because she is detached from love entirely, but because she is deeply connected to herself and refuses to settle for anything less than reciprocity. She learns that letting go is not the end of love, it is the beginning of a love that honors her, elevates her, and mirrors her courage. It is a radical act of self-care, a testament to her strength, and a declaration that she will not shrink for anyone. By detaching, she protects her heart, preserves her peace, and opens herself to experiences, relationships, and connections that reflect the love she deserves. Radiating authenticity is one of the most magnetic qualities a high-value woman can embody. She understands that trying to fit into someone else's expectations, performing to earn approval, or chasing validation diminishes her energy and obscures her light. Instead, she chooses to be unapologetically herself. She shows up fully with her quirks, her passions, her vulnerabilities, and her strengths without fear of judgment or rejection. Her authenticity is not performative. It is deeply rooted in self-awareness and self-respect. She knows that the energy she emits is far more compelling than any mask she could wear or any persona she could adopt to please someone else. A high-value woman recognizes that confidence is inseparable from authenticity. She does not seek external validation because she has cultivated internal assurance. She trusts her instincts, her judgment, and her voice. She knows who she is, what she wants, and what she will not tolerate. This confidence is not arrogance. It is quiet, steady, and rooted in a profound understanding of her worth. When she expresses her true self, it is neither defensive nor aggressive. It is natural, effortless, and compelling. People are drawn to her because they sense her integrity, her honesty, and her self-respect, not because she has tried to impress or perform. Being authentic requires vulnerability, which she embraces fully. She is not afraid to show her emotions, to admit when she is struggling, or to express her desires and needs. She understands that vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength. It allows her to connect deeply with others, to communicate honestly, and to cultivate relationships based on mutual understanding and respect. Her openness encourages others to be authentic as well, creating connections that are rich, meaningful, and aligned with her energy. She does not hide behind facades, social expectations, or fear of judgment. Instead, she chooses to be real, knowing that anyone unwilling to accept her true self is not someone whose energy she needs in her life. A high-value woman also understands the cost of inauthenticity. She has seen the way performing for others, bending to expectations, or suppressing her true desires can lead to resentment, emptiness, and frustration. She knows that chasing someone's approval is not love, it is survival at the expense of her joy and peace. She refuses to compromise her integrity to gain attention or affection. Every time she chooses authenticity over performance, she reinforces her self-worth and strengthens the magnetic energy that naturally attracts people, opportunities, and experiences that honor her. Her authenticity is reflected in her boundaries. She communicates openly about what she values, what she expects, and what she will not tolerate. She does not manipulate guilt or negotiate her way into being loved or respected. Her honesty sets the tone for her interactions and relationships, making it clear that she is not willing to settle for anything that diminishes her energy. By radiating authenticity, She creates a life where only those who align with her values, energy, and heart are allowed to participate. This creates a natural filter, drawing in love and connections that are reciprocal, healthy, and enriching. Authenticity also manifests in the way she expresses herself. She does not hide her passions or downplay her strengths to make others comfortable. She speaks her truth, even when it is difficult, even when it might cause disagreement or discomfort. She celebrates her achievements without fear of envy or judgment. She shares her dreams and ambitions boldly, knowing that anyone unwilling to celebrate or support her is not aligned with the energy she deserves. Her confidence does not intimidate, it inspires. Her honesty does not alienate, it connects. And her energy does not demand, it attracts. Living authentically also means embracing imperfection. A high-value woman does not strive for perfection to gain approval or love. She embraces her flaws, her mistakes, and her unique traits, understanding that these are part of her humanity and part of what makes her magnetic. She does not compare herself to others or measure her worth against external standards. Instead, she focuses on being the most genuine version of herself. In doing so, she cultivates resilience, self-compassion, and an inner strength that no external circumstance can shake. Her energy becomes magnetic because it is aligned with truth. When she is herself, she no longer expends energy chasing someone else's validation or altering herself to fit into someone else's mold. She is free, and freedom has a radiance that cannot be replicated. People feel it intuitively. They are drawn to her not because she seeks their attention, but because she embodies a presence that is confident, honest, and aligned with her inner truth. This energy naturally attracts love, respect, and opportunities that honor her rather than diminish her. Radiating authenticity also involves self-awareness and reflection. She regularly checks in with herself to ensure that her actions, decisions, and relationships are aligned with her values and her energy. She asks herself difficult questions. Am I compromising my joy for someone else? Am I performing instead of being? Am I allowing fear of rejection to dictate my actions? Through this reflection, she continually strengthens her authenticity and ensures that her presence in the world is honest, intentional, and grounded. Importantly, radiating authenticity does not mean she is rigid or unapproachable. She is open to growth, learning, and collaboration. She listens, she adapts, and she communicates with empathy. But she never sacrifices who she is or what she stands for. She does not dilute her light for anyone, and she does not dim her voice to make others comfortable. Instead, she shines fully, knowing that anyone who cannot accept her true self is not aligned with the energy she deserves. Ultimately, radiating authenticity is a form of empowerment. It liberates her from the exhausting cycle of performance and approval seeking. It allows her to live fully, love freely, and connect deeply. It ensures that the relationships, experiences, and opportunities she attracts are those that reflect her energy, respect her worth, and honor her presence. She becomes magnetic not by chasing, not by performing, and not by seeking validation, but by embodying the truth of who she is, courageous, vulnerable, honest, and unapologetically herself. Through authenticity, she creates a life of freedom, joy, and alignment. She does not settle for anything less than the respect, love, and recognition she deserves. She does not chase what is not meant for her. And she does not compromise her energy to make others comfortable. Her confidence, her honesty, and her unwavering commitment to being herself attract everything and everyone who belongs in her life. In radiating authenticity, she becomes unstoppable, magnetic, and beautifully free. Choosing love that honors you is perhaps the most powerful declaration a high-value woman can make. She understands that love is not a mere feeling, a fleeting comfort, or a transaction to fill a void. It is a reflection of mutual respect, trust, and alignment. She refuses to settle for anything less than a connection that uplifts, nurtures, and mirrors her courage and strength. She has learned, often through trial, heartbreak, and quiet reflection, that anything less diminishes her, erodes her self-worth, and distracts her from the life and love she truly deserves. A high-value woman knows that settling for less than she deserves is a betrayal of herself. She does not trade her peace, her integrity, or her emotional energy for the illusion of connection. She has seen the way love can be distorted when one compromises out of fear, fear of being alone, fear of rejection, or fear that they won't find someone else. She refuses to let fear dictate her heart or her choices. She understands that true love does not require sacrifice of self-respect, but instead enhances her sense of worth. Choosing love that honors her begins with choosing herself first, her values, her needs, and her emotional well-being. When she chooses herself first, she sets a standard that cannot be negotiated. She understands that the love she gives is sacred and should never be misused, dismissed, or taken for granted. She knows that when she walks into a relationship, she brings her whole self, her passions, her dreams, her vulnerability, and her courage. And in return, she expects love that matches this depth, care, and commitment. Anything less is not love. It is a compromise that chips away at her dignity and her emotional energy. She has no tolerance for love that is conditional, half-hearted, or manipulative. She recognizes it immediately and does not linger. Choosing love that honors her also requires courage and clarity. It is not always easy to step away from someone who offers comfort but not respect, attention but not commitment, or passion but not alignment. Society often tells women to compromise, to tolerate, or to adjust their expectations for the sake of love. A high-value woman rejects this narrative. She understands that settling for less is a slow surrender of self, and she refuses to participate. She chooses instead to embrace the discomfort of boundaries, the courage of saying no, and the power of walking away from what diminishes her. This act, though difficult, strengthens her identity and fortifies her emotional resilience. She also recognizes that love is a mirror. The relationship she cultivates should reflect her courage, her strength, and her self-respect. She does not seek love to fix herself or fill emptiness. She seeks love that complements her wholeness. A partner who honors her, recognizes her brilliance, supports her dreams, and meets her with the same energy and devotion she offers. Such love is reciprocal, nourishing, and empowering. It does not threaten her independence, nor does it diminish her voice. Instead, it enhances her life, creating a partnership built on equality, respect, and shared growth. A high-value woman also understands the importance of timing and alignment. She knows that love cannot be forced or rushed. She does not chase, manipulate, or compromise to create affection where it does not naturally exist. She trusts that the right love will come when it aligns with her energy, values, and purpose. This patience is not passivity, it is intentionality. It reflects her commitment to herself and her unwillingness to settle for anything less than the reflection of the love she already embodies. Choosing love that honors her requires deep self-awareness. She has spent time understanding her patterns, identifying what brings her joy, and recognizing what drains her energy. She knows her boundaries, her non-negotiables, and her emotional triggers. This self-knowledge allows her to navigate relationships with clarity and confidence. She does not ignore red flags, rationalize inconsistencies, or hope for change in someone who cannot meet her where she stands. Instead, she observes, reflects, and decides intentionally, choosing love that aligns with her highest self. Self-respect is the cornerstone of this choice. She knows that honoring herself ensures that the love she receives will never be less than what she gives. By valuing her time, energy, and emotions, she communicates to the world that her heart is not available to be taken lightly. She chooses relationships that honor her, encourage her growth, and celebrate her authenticity. She rejects love that demands her to shrink, change, or compromise her integrity. This refusal is not pride, it is self-preservation and empowerment. Choosing love that honors her also transforms the way she experiences intimacy. She approaches relationships with openness, vulnerability, and courage, but not desperation. She is capable of deep emotional connection precisely because she is whole on her own. Her love is abundant, generous, and intentional. She does not seek validation through attachment, nor does she fear being alone. This independence allows her to engage fully, to give freely, and to attract love that is equally invested, mutually nourishing, and deeply satisfying. Ultimately, choosing love that honors her is an ongoing practice. It requires self-reflection, courage, patience, and commitment. It demands that she consistently choose herself. Even when temptation or fear suggests compromise, she understands that her heart is sacred and that the quality of love she receives is a reflection of the standard she sets. Each decision to uphold these standards strengthens her self-respect and reinforces her value. It ensures that every connection in her life either elevates her or respectfully steps aside, making room for alignment, joy, and fulfillment. Through this intentional choice, she creates a life of integrity, empowerment, and vibrancy. She surrounds herself with love that mirrors her courage, energy, and authenticity. She experiences relationships that are supportive, reciprocal, and uplifting. And she radiates a quiet but undeniable truth. She is whole, she is worthy, and she will never settle for less than the love that honors the fullness of who she is. By choosing love that honors her, she becomes a beacon not only of what she deserves, but of what love, when aligned with respect and authenticity, can truly be. She teaches the world that love is not about compromise, or desperation. It is about alignment, reciprocity, and mutual elevation. And in doing so, she inspires others to rise, to respect themselves, and to seek love that reflects the courage and strength they carry within. Remember this, your worth is not measured by who chooses to stay or who walks away. Your value is inherent, unshakable, and undeniable. You do not need to chase love, approval, or validation, because the right love finds you when you honor yourself fully. Stop shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. Stop begging for attention that isn't freely given. Stop compromising your peace for temporary comfort. Stand tall in your worth. Set boundaries with courage. Invest in yourself unapologetically. Detach from what diminishes you. Radiate your authenticity boldly. And above all, choose love that honors you, that uplifts you, and that reflects the strength, courage, and brilliance you bring into the world. Your life, your heart, and your happiness deserve nothing less. Today, make a choice. Choose yourself. Protect your energy. Respect your heart. Demand love that mirrors your value. Step into the life you were meant to live, a life of freedom, joy, and unshakable self-respect. Because the moment you choose yourself, everything changes. The love you deserve, the respect you demand, and the life you dream of will follow naturally. Own your worth, walk your path, shine your light. The world and the right people cannot help but notice. Start today. Say yes to yourself. Say no to what doesn't honor you. Protect your peace. Invest in your growth. Walk away from what diminishes you. And watch as your life transforms when you refuse to settle for anything less than the love and respect you deserve.